a dick. It wasn't really meant to be, but anyway. Yes, I'm recording this just after. It's going to pop a couple of pieces of gum in. I'm hoping this isn't going to make the beer taste awful, but we'll see. Bit of a just normal extra. I didn't choose to chew a flavoured one. Okay, I didn't choose to have a flavoured one because, you know, I'm having a drink and I don't want it to taste too disgusting. So, whilst today's video can be we've got the monster manual for D&D 5th edition. Look, this is just a casual little video. It's going to be some page turning sounds. You can have a chance to hear some page turning. I thought I'd just look through and like make some commentary on some of the monsters in there. Maybe pick out a couple that stand out to me, some of my favourites. Nothing like that deep. I do want to do like a specific video, like my top 10 monsters or stuff like that, but that sort of stuff I want to structure rather than like just do like off of a whim. So I'm just gonna flip through. We're gonna keep it to the monster manual today. In the future I might do ones for other videos, like I might do ones like looking through some of the books for magic items or like, I don't know, particularly interesting things from different modules. So obviously there's spoilers for that in those if we do them. But right now, you know, if you don't want to hear things about some of the monsters, don't watch the video. I can already taste this gum is it's too thin for me. I like a bigger chunk. I did get a request to do some popping stuff. I'm gonna do another non-talking video with like popping sounds. Because the comment was on that video and I don't know, maybe they just like popping sounds without talking. So, this is a print of the monster manual from many years ago. And a couple of the books have had reprints with some new art and some new stuff in there. But we're going to kick things off. So, first creature that comes to mind as I'm like looking through. We'll start things off with a challenge rating 4 monster. The Banshee. So this stands out to me because I've used it many times. It's a creature that appears in The Last Might of Phandelver, or now known as Phandelver and Below the Shattered Obelisk. And in one of the chapters, there's Banshee. It's a fun monster. It's basically an undead. I believe. Yeah, it is. So there's specific lore for it that they are Banshees are actually elves. That have died, and it's actually described here under divine wrath. Banshees are the undead remnants of elves who, blessed with great beauty, failed to use their gift to bring joy to the world. Instead, used it to corrupt and control others. So, that's like the specific lore of a Banshee. I don't always really do that. positioned banshees as creatures that have like succumbed to something really, really dark, and have been warped and corrupted by that deed, probably, that killed them. More than like a normal ghost. Like a ghost would be a creature that just has unfinished business, or their soul is tied to a location. But a banshee, by sheer force of like, I guess like heartbreak, or more like deep-rooted trauma, has been an element of that trauma. They are the trauma incarnate. That's how I've always kind of mess with them. But I bring this up because it's a challenge rating 4 monster, Pierce and Lost Mine, which is at the time a 1 to 5, and the PCs would encounter them below that level. They've got a couple of interesting things that I like. So first of all, much like other incorporeal creatures, they can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. So basically, that just means that they can move through enemies and walls. They've got an ability called Detect Life, which is up to 5 miles away. They can sense the presence of creatures as long as they're not undead or constructs. And the Banshee will know their exact location. Their direction, but not the exact location. I misread that there. So under some of the actions, some of the things that they can do that I think are interesting. So they've got a corrupting touch, which deals quite a lot of necrotic damage when it hits 3d6 plus 2. They have 2 other abilities that are quite interesting as well. One's called Horrifying Visage, and in short, a number of creatures, basically any that are within 60 feet of the Banshee, will make a wisdom saving throw, and if they fail, they become frightened, which just is not an uncommon ability. I just think it's pretty cool. And when they're frightened, bad things happen. Makes it harder to do things. And then finally, they've got an ability called Whale, which they can do once a day. There we go. So the whale is really nasty. So there's a fairly low constitution saving throw that they have to make. Like it's not a specific target. I didn't think so. It's like a wave within 30 feet of any creatures within 30 feet of the Banshee has to make a constitution save, otherwise they immediately drop to 0 hit points. There's another couple of monsters that can do something like this, but it's the kind of monster that even at level 20 with like maxed out gear and stuff like that, this simple monster could kill you like that without there being much to it. One bad roll and you drop your barbarian with 200 hit points. You just drop to 0. In short, it's a bit more complicated than that often. But yeah, so that's the Banshee. And as things go, not a massively unique kind of creature, but just one that I think is kind of interesting because I use it a lot and it's always fun to mess with. Sticking to the bees, I would be remiss remiss if I didn't mention this. Challenge rating 13 creature. Beholder. Big stat block there that is at the front. There's another bit of art for it. So a beholder is an aberration. It's a creature from the far realm, the plane beyond. Space beyond space. And it's really simple. It's a floating head, basically. It's a spherical creature with a single eye in the middle, a mouth, and 10 tentacles that have, or tendrils that have eyes on the end. And basically, it's this quite intelligent creature that can shoot out different rays during its turn. So depending on the level of creature, there's a lot of there's like beholderkin, which are like different versions of a beholder, but the standard beholder is a CR13 creature. The single eye in the middle acts as an anti-magic cone, so basically no magic can work whilst in its cone of vision. Spells won't work, magical items become inert, any effects are suppressed for the duration, so it's pretty cool. A way to kind of mess over some spellcasters. And then, on its turn, let me just double check how many it is. So, on its turn, it can shoot 3 rays from each of the different, or 3 rays randomly determined which they are from the 10 that it has. So, the way in which you would do that is you would roll, in this case, a d10, and then refer to the number as to which ray it is. You re-roll any duplicates, but it's a lot of fun. So, for example, here, let's go through some of these eye rays. So the first one is a charm ray, which basically can charm a creature for up to an hour. Some of these effects are like near enough permanent, by the way. So that charm, usually if you hurt a creature that's charmed, they might stir out of it. It's not always the case, but it can be. In this case it isn't. They don't make any more saves, they're just charmed unless the beholder harms them again. The second one is a paralysing ray, which basically means they're paralysed for a minute, but they can repeat the save at the end of a turn. Maybe I shouldn't go into all these details, but I'll keep it a little bit more vague in case you're going to be playing in a game. Next is a fear ray, to frighten someone. A slowing ray, which basically is the same effects of the slowed spell, which halves your movement, and you can only take like a certain number of actions on a turn or attacks. The fifth is I don't know how to pronounce this, innovation ray, which is a whole bunch of necrotic damage. It's basically like well, it's not a death ray, we'll get to that. It's just like a negative energy ray. 6 is telekinesis, which is the beholder can move an object or a creature in a direction if they want, and it's basically incapacitated. It's like being grappled. Then there's a sleep ray, which knocks them unconscious, not to 0 hit points, but they fall asleep. Then there's 8, the petrification ray, which is turning someone to stone, like Medusa. 9 is the disintegration ray. This is where it gets really nasty. A massive amount of damage if you fail the save. And if it reduces you to 0 hit points, you turn to And once you get 3 successes, you're conscious, or you're unconscious but not dying. If you fail 3 times, you die, but this ray will just turn you to dust. You die instantly. No coming back, except for some high level magic. And then finally, is the death ray, which is basically the identical thing, but without the disintegration. So there's 2 chances. There is a, I guess, a 20% chance that you're going to get hit by something that could just insta-kill you if you fail near enough. So that's the beholder. And in addition to that, it has legendary actions, which basically means after a player's turn, it can shoot another one of these rays randomly determined. And that's built into the beholder, by the way, is that the GM will roll for which eye ray is used, and I think that's a lot of fun. I would probably randomise it myself anyway, but yeah, a lot of fun that. So let's keep looking through, just see what comes to mind. I could go over the dragons. Maybe I'll do a video just talking about the dragons in this game. But the dragons are fun, nothing. But the thing is, I wouldn't really say they're not that unique. You know, a dragon has some attacks. It has a breath weapon and it can fly. Another book called Fizzban's, can't remember what is it, Fizzban's Treasury of Dragons, I think. Adds like a whole bunch of stuff like giving dragon spell casting, and that's a lot of fun. That adds a lot of depth. But the basic ones are not, honestly, they're not that interesting. I'm trying to avoid just going for like the big damage monsters, like a Baylor, which is like an incredibly powerful demon, not quite the level of like a demon prince, which I'm sure we'll get to when we go over to Monsters of the Multiverse. Okay, here's an interesting one. I like this one. This is also a creature that appears in The Lost Mine, and actually in quite a few modules. And it is a Nothic. So, honestly, there's not a lot that's unique about the Nothic. It's a simple creature that is basically a wizard, gets turned into it. Let me just double check. Oh, interesting. So apparently this is to do with Vecna, but to the best of my knowledge, how it's often played out is that it's basically a wizard that stumbles onto some dark secret or like goes insane, ends up becoming this creature through a kind of curse. So a Nothic is like an old wizard, or used to be a wizard, but it's like a husk of that person. That said, not a great deal to them. They have, oh, do you know what? I actually didn't know this. They have true sight. I guess it's never really come up in one of my games, but they have true sight, which basically means they can see through illusions and invisibility and stuff. But that aside, they have like a claw attack. They have a rotting gaze, which is kind of cool. They look at a creature, they have to make a save, or they take a bunch of necrotic damage. And they're a CR2 creature, so the necrotic damage is actually quite high for what it is, but there's a low save. The thing that I think is interesting, that really makes them stand out, is their ability called Weird Insight. So it will target a creature within 30 feet. The target must make a deception check versus the Nothic's insight. If the Nothic wins, which means gets the same or higher, it magically learns one secret about the target, and the target automatically wins if they're immune to being charmed. I think the idea of them being able to learn a secret about a creature is really interesting, and I'm highlighting that because there's not a lot of creatures with really interesting, unique abilities like that. I guess there are, but like a lot of them are to do with combat. You know, like this really cool thing, it might teleport a creature up in the air, or I just made that up, but like breath weapon attack from a dragon, or the ice stalks. They're all unique, interesting abilities, but this one has a different element to it, right? Because that's not something you would really use in combat, but it is the sort of thing you might use if the players walk into a room and they walk into a room and they're observed by this Nothic hiding in the corner, and it learns a secret about one of the players, and is able to like use that against them somehow. Like, I don't know, they learn that they're scared of spiders, and so he like conjures some spiders, or even as like scouts, right? If your big bad villain has some Nothics, it might send them to learn information about what the players' secrets are. Like if they learn that they once were framed for a murder, or the villain now sends bounty hunters after them, he tells them about the lore about them. I don't know, there's some examples of how this creature can play into like the storytelling and the role play. And I love creatures with abilities like that. I'm gonna look for maybe one more here. Okay, I found what I want to talk about. Again, not a massive kind of creature. This is only a CR half creature, and it is the rust monster. These creatures are very, very interesting. Now, much like the Nothic, there's not a lot of like, let's say, aggressive abilities that make them unique. You know, they have a bite attack, that's it. However, they have this corrosive body, which means, especially at lower levels, these creatures are nasty because you get what's like called a death spiral with them, more or less. So they have two abilities. One is like a passive ability called rust metal, which is any non-magical weapon, which often the players will not have magical weapons at the beginning, made of metal that hits the rust monster corrodes. After dealing damage, the weapon permanently takes a cumulative -1 penalty to damage rolls. If it drops to -5, the weapon is destroyed. And any ammo that hits it is destroyed instantly as well. But not only does it have that, but it has an action that it has called antennae, which is the rust monster corrodes a non-magical ferrous metal object it can see within 5 feet of it. If the object isn't being worn or carried, it destroys a cubic feet of it. The object being borne or carried by a creature must make a dexterity saving throw, an easy one, an 11, to avoid the touch. But if it does touch it, either the armour or the shield that is being carried also takes this cumulative -1 penalty, and if the arm is reduced to an AC of 10 or the shield to a 0, it's destroyed. So basically this creature is designed to fuck over players. Put these at the beginning of the dungeon and you permanently will weaken them, right? If they're heading out to a dungeon and you put this creature right at the front, or a couple of them, right, they're going to have to attack it. So, two things here. First of all, they're going to learn very quickly when they hit it, or when it hits them, they're going to be losing armour and weapon durability. Bear in mind, this is the only time this ever appears in the game. 5e never uses like cumulative effects, like -1, -2, -3. The only other example is like exhaustion. This is the only other time it's used. And so, but to my knowledge anyway, and so this is a really standout point. So if you put this at the beginning of a dungeon, bearing in mind that every -1 is a number taken away from a final of a dice roll, and at lower levels, that's a big thing, you know, that is big. If your weapon's taken 2, that's a -2 to your durability, -2 to your attack rolls. On top, like, so if your bonus was a +5, it's now a +3, and that can be a big difference, you know. So it's a nasty, nasty monster, and honestly, it probably should be higher than a half level. If you've ever followed anything about D&D, you've probably heard about this creature. It's often kind of depicted as like one of the most deadly monsters that you don't think would be deadly, and it's deadly because you can just destroy people's weapons, and like, they can't do anything against it, you know. So there we have it. That's my video on the monster manual, or a little video. We might do another one of these, like deep dive again, jump through, look at some of the monsters, just have a bit of a chat, talk about them. I enjoy doing this, you know. It's a fun video idea, just talk about some of the D&D monsters, get a bit of gum chewing in there. I didn't have any of my drink, I got so lost in the chats. So that's going to be the end of the video. We're going to do this again, I'm sure of it. If you enjoyed, I would love it if you would drop a little like. Lets me know that this video was enjoyable, I guess. You know, because views are never really a thing to go off of. If a video has 100,000 views and 10 likes, you know, it insinuates a lot of people have seen it, but no one's enjoyed it. So the likes are a good way of letting me know